Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. There's only one place to go, ricmotech.com.
Welcome, everyone, to round number 6 of the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech World Challenge, presented by Performa Elite, MRA Advisory Group, and Buttkicker here on Apex Racing TV. Erected just north of Milan in 1922, the Aerodromo Nazionale Monza was just the world's third purpose-built motor racing circuit after Brooklands and Indianapolis. And known as the Temple of Speed, it features just 6 corner complexes over its 3.6 miles and 11 turns. And it's that speed and a general lack of runoff out of the corners designed to mitigate that speed that has challenged racers to this day, and even causing the death of over 50. Hopefully no one dies here tonight in the World Challenge. I'm Greg Ginsberg, and joining me in the announce booth as always is Larry Lefty McLeod, along with Jonathan Grabowski in the virtual production trailer, bringing you all the best views of tonight's action. And so, good evening, Larry. This is one of those nights here at Monza where you typically want to, I don't know, get in the easy chair, pull up a drink, and just see what plays out.
several here. Yes.
Several.
Hey, Greg, how's it going? Yeah,
Good.
This is going to be a good night because this place, everyone knows this place for Formula One. Everybody knows they run a lot of things here. It's classic. It's history. It's speed. It's narrow. It's a lot of straightaway. This place is not the widest track other than parts of the front straight. The rest of this is pretty narrow, and I think that's going to be fun multi-class racing. When you get down to the chicanes, I don't know. We're going to be seeing some big fast cars trying to get around some little bit slower ones through those chicanes, and it's going to make for a whole lot of interesting interactions. I'm looking forward to that. But I think we've got races coming through. We've got points battles who are really starting to shape up. And I think all that's going to be coming into a big, giant crescendo here at the Italian home of speed.
That's right. And so tonight, Larry, it is going to be a 90-minute race to the checker, one of our two enduros, longer length races here this season in the World Challenge. But let's do this before we have to take a look at Bobby Child's face for too long. Let's turn things over to his good friend Kevin Ford. He's going to give us tonight's track guide of Monza.
Welcome everyone to the beautiful Monza circuit located here in Monza, Italy. 3.6 miles around this beast of speed, as I like to refer to it as we head up the front straightaway. We'll get up through the gears here, looking to the right. We'll see our fans all up in the bleachers and a few even out in the grassy area to the left. This straightaway here, boy, it is known for the overtaking into this brake zone that we're approaching, and it is one heavy, heavy brake zone. Down from high speed here, coming down this very lengthy front straight. We're going to hang a very tight right and a very tight left here through this first chicane, and man, is that a doozy when you've got a whole field of cars coming through there at the start of an event. Here we go up into Curva Grande. This will be turn 3 here on the Monza GP circuit. Love this corner, wide open, flat out through here. As we bring the car back out straight and head underneath the walkway here to get ready for the next very tight brake zone here, turns 4 and 5. Through 4, back to the right out of 5 here. We'll take it right out to the edge here, get some good speed off that corner. This will bring us into, well, what occasionally can be a overtaking zone, but not exactly recommended through that section, but you will see it happening. Down into Lesmo's turn 7 here, out of 7, right back up through the gears, and we'll head up onto this backstretch that'll take us up to one of my favorite corners here, beautiful Ascari. Very difficult corner to get just right. We'll enter with a high rate of speed here. We'll get down on the brakes coming into this blind entry. Going to bring it right back to the left, come right back to throttle, take just a little bit of curb here, and then roll that center coming out of turn 10, and then wide open up onto the final section of the very fast backstretch here at Monza. This will take us into what's known as Parabolica, turn 11 here at Monza GP. Down into 4th gear, into 3rd. We're going to come in here and get that car to rotate early, get right back to floor, let that car rotate right off this very, very long sweeping corner. You just never think it's going to end, and then all of a sudden that beautiful long straightaway opens up in front of you as we come across the stripe there. There you go. There's your track guide for the gorgeous Monza, Italy circuit.
All right, thanks so much to Kevin Ford for tonight's track guide of a very fast Monza. And I think the only thing missing from his track guide, Larry, was the view of the GTP cars flying by him on some of these very long straightaways. But you know, Kevin referred to it as the beast of speed, and I don't know. I prefer Temple because I think everybody bows down to this place as one of the greatest circuits in the world, and certainly one of the fastest. I mean, as I was watching Kevin do his track guide, you know, as he was making the run out of and he did this down at the tail end of his track guide, as he came out of Parabolica, the last turn onto the front straight, and we saw him heading back down the front straight. He was back up to 160, 161 miles an hour. You have to brake down to about 45 in those GT3 cars to make it through that first chicane. Through the second chicane, maybe 60, 65 miles an hour. And Ascari, that's the high speed there. The high speed chicane when you're going at 85 or 90 after, again, running in the GT3 cars almost 160 miles an hour. It's pretty insane, the speeds you can get there. And also in order to be able to navigate these very narrow, tight chicanes with your fellow competitors, how slow you really have to get these cars down to.
Yeah, and my experience on this track is the first one's always the hardest one because it's almost blind the way you have to get around that first kink of it, and the second one just never seems to be open enough, at least when you get to the second chicane, which we're kind of on board here. We're watching Dre Divock do. You get to the second one, you can at least see the braking point, and it seems wider on the exit than it is on the entry, and the curves are easier and softer to kind of roll over. Good job there, Dre. Thanks for showing me.
Thank you.
Yep. But the first one always seems to be like it's like almost it feels like it's 2 hairpins more than just a chicane, and that's where typically the chaos ensues. So a lap 1 incident is a high probability tonight because it's such a bottleneck, it's such a tight chicane. We've seen it in Formula One. I hope we can get through it tonight cleanly twice because we've got 2 group of cars that have to get through.
We'll see if somebody ends up on if perhaps we see. Sorry, and yeah, there we go, Larry. I'm doing nothing but saying Travis Schwenke and Mike Dam on one on top of the other as a roof or something like Verstappen and Hamilton a couple years ago.
Well, if it's Orion on Orion violence, then I'm sure the folks at all of our the right stuff and DTD and all the other teams might be okay with that. But we're not here to root for one team over another. But let's not root for too much violence tonight. But I do think it's going to be on everybody to try and get clean through the first chicane on the opening lap to see what happens and then open it up from there. And then, as we mentioned, it's 90 minutes tonight. That is a long time. That's a lot of runs through the chicane. It's a lot of runs around this place. When we're talking about lap times for these GTPs are up around, there you can see 1:32 for Ben Rose right now. So you're getting around near 1.5 minutes, and you got to do 90 minutes of this place. We're talking a whole lot of laps. I can't do math. I'm guessing it's about 60, but that's a long race to do it without making a mistake and hitting the wrong sausage curve. So could be a bit chaotic tonight. I think the driver that walks away with the max points tonight is going to be the one that just avoids the big one, avoids the big mess, and is able to make a couple of clean pit stops and get through this thing. It's an important race for a lot of folks and a lot of points battles, and that's why I think they put this track at this length at this point in the season. Because it's interesting.
All right. So, Larry, we've got our drivers there out on qualifying right now. And as you can see there on the clock on the left-hand side of the screen, they have 15 minutes. But we only give them 4 flying laps in order to set their fastest lap and to set the grid for tonight's race. Just as we watch Bailey Petrowski, who I believe is still our GTP championship leader, take provisional pole with a 1:31.5. They're over Ben Rose. He did that on his second flying lap, so he's got 2 more to go if he wishes to take them. Bobby Childs now moving up to third fastest here behind Ben Rose, who and I believe Ben took our win last week or 2 weeks ago. Indeed, he did when we were at where were we 2 weeks ago? Was that Watkins Glen? I think it was.
I believe it was.
Yeah, exactly. So there you go. There in GT3, we've got our 2 different categories. We've got our Pro and AM classes. The Pro drivers currently led by the Wrong Stuff's Michael Brooks, who has a provisional time of 1:46.95. Set that on his second flying lap. And the way you can pick the Pro drivers out from the AM drivers, the Pro drivers like Mr. Brooks, they have the Ricmotech Red, I've been alerted to is the name for it, on the number boards, the mirrors, the windshield banners, as well as the end plates on their wings. Whereas our AM category drivers, if we switch over to Dre Divock, who's currently our second fastest GT3 driver out on track currently, also for the Wrong Stuff, Dre, like all of our other AM category drivers, got green number boards on the car, the green windshield banners and mirrors, and the green end plates on the wings. And Mr. Divock showing us both of the end plates on the wing on both the left and the right side through just a single corner. That was pretty impressive.
Showing both sides of the pink flame jobs in the car. Very cool.
Yes. So Divock currently our fastest AM category driver there, although this lap obviously isn't going to count. He's currently sitting at a 1:47.37. If we move over here, here's Michael Caffrey down from way down under, Australia way. McCaffrey in the number 66 Mercedes, currently your second fastest AM driver. He's got a 1:47.49 in the books, currently working his third flying lap. All right, so Larry, real quick here, let's take a quick look at the way we finished up at Watkins Glen and also the current point standings, as we're now just about halfway through this qualifying session. We'll start off with our GT3 AM drivers, and Dre Divock, who we were watching just a few moments ago, took the win at Watkins Glen from pole over Dragon Sport Racing's Leo Dragota, who started on the outside of row number 2. Team Collusion's Alex Brown finished third in his Porsche, and then Chuck Labano finished just off the podium in 4th. All 3 drivers on the podium driving Porsches, and Labano, the only driver in the top 6, not driving a Porsche. He was in one of the new Ferrari GT3 machines. If we take a look at the point standings here after now 5 rounds in AM, there you go, and look how tight it is. And Dre Divock with his finish at Watkins Glen takes over the lead in AM from Leo Dragota, but it is so close, Larry. Only 1 point separating those 2 drivers. Chuck Labano from Frito Sport, currently sitting 3rd in the championship. He is 19 points out of the lead, 18 points back from Dragota. Then Jeff Brooks and Jackson Detmer rounding out your top 5. If we jump over to Pro, taking the win for the wrong stuff was Iago Mores, and I mean, we had been, I don't want to say warned, Larry, but we had been told in pre-race at Watkins Glen that Mores was pretty much a specialist at the Glen, and really loved that track. He took the win.
I think we got to change his name to Glenn Mores, but I think
Glenn Mores. Yeah, I mean, it would be much easier for us to pronounce. Absolutely. Here as he started off on pole, and a 7.5 second gap back to Orion's Travis Schwenke. So the Porsche taking the win, the BMW second, and then the wrong stuff's Michael Brooks finished in 3rd, with Thorman and Jacobs finishing 4th and 5th, a Ferrari and a BMW. Point standings in Pro: Mike Dam from Orion Racing, still your points leader, and Mike Dam unfortunately had an off and finished tailing Charlie. Otherwise, you would have stretched out his advantage, which is already sitting at 27 points over Iago Mores, who moved from 4th in the championship up to 2nd based on his win at the Glen. He's got 235 points, 5 points up on Robert Hartley from Orion, then Ken Copeland from Team Esport Racer, and then Travis Schwenke. So lots of Orion racers there in the top 5. And then finally, if we look over at GTP, taking the win at the Glen was, as I mentioned, Ben Rose from DNA Motorsports, with Bailey Petrowski finishing 2nd, 3 seconds in arrears. The caddy with the win, the Acura finishing 2nd. Another caddy on the podium is Ryan Reisman from DNA, came home in 3rd. And I think that was a race that Takahashi, I think he had an opportunity for a while there to move up to the podium. He finishes in 4th in his Porsche 963, and then Adam Rose finishing in 5th. And the point standings there now in GTP, it's Bailey Petrowski who holds on to the lead in the championship. He has 3 wins to Rose's 2. The Acura driver for D2D has 264 points. He's 4 points up on Rose. And then we've got Ryan Reeves, Ryan Reisman, and Bobby Childs rounding out the top 5.
And look at the battles there. Is the top 2 separated by 4 points, 3 and 4 separated by 1 point, 5 and 6 and 7, 5 points between those 3. So yeah, we get some battles to be decided. And that's what I was saying. Tough track, big long race to get points, but the ones that can do it, you are going to decide championship positions, I think, here tonight.
All right, let's take a look, Larry. Here as qualifying is starting to wind down. We've got most of our drivers have taken their 4 flying laps, but we have waiting for us in the green room Alex Brown. He's from Team Collusion, drives the number 67 GT3 AM Porsche. Let's hear from him.
All right, Alex Brown joining us here tonight pre-race. So Alex, I think you've got your qualifying there in the books. What's your thought here on Monza, and what do you think about trying to race multi-class big field here at this track?
You know what? I think the multi-class isn't so much what's kind of intimidating me. It's my own kind of skills on the track of sorts. There's decent amount of space, I think, to be patient and get around as long as you're paying attention. But be my first ever race at Monza. I don't know if doing it in the league is a great idea, but woohoo, here we go.
Well, you're coming in off of a podium finish in class at the last race. That it's the best finish I think of the season so far. You worked hard to try to keep the momentum going, but it also kind of sounds like maybe Monza's a little bit intimidating for you. I guess how much does that work into pressure to prepare for this?
I put in a lot of work. I think I have the speed to get there. It's the consistency. There's a lot of pressure with like all the off tracks that you can get here. Any of these, what I like to call track limit tracks, these F1 tracks where you have to really test the limits, as in you can cut this much here, but you can only cut that much there. A lot of that's going to play into it. I think it's a longer race tonight. That's a bit more intimidating, but I'm happy with, like, I wasn't feeling overly comfortable at Watkins Glen, but to pull out a third place there was made me happy. So, who knows, maybe I'll get a similar result this week.
Yeah. And, we were just talking here about it. We think that tonight might be almost as much of survival as anything to go around this place with the sausage curbs and everything 50, 60 times, maybe 60 times if you're in the GTPs, maybe 45, 50 times in these GT3s. But that consistency, isn't it? To me, am I wrong to say it's that consistency to be able to hit those lap after lap after lap, maybe ultimately deciding whether you finish this race on the track or finish it in a wall?
Yeah, if you're not consistently on the black stuff, yeah, for sure. But it's so easy to go in too hard and lose time, go in too easy and lose time, and go in just perfectly, but you hit one of those sausage curbs, and next thing you know, your back end's out on you, or your front end. There's just so many variables that, I don't think anybody's safe. I don't think anybody's safe tonight. It doesn't matter how fast or slow you are. You have a chance at a decent finish as long as you're still in the race.
Yeah. Just a couple seconds left, but I got one more question. When you're going into turn 1, lap 1, would you rather be on the inside or the outside entering that first chicane?
Ignorance is bliss, I guess, in this one. I've never, like I said, this will be my very first race at Monza ever.
Read and react. I like that strategy. All right. Well, Alex, good luck tonight, and maybe any luck, we'll talk to you in about 90 minutes.
Yeah, fingers crossed on that one. Thanks, guys.
All right, as he goes to the grid, let's thank Alex Brown for joining us there pre-race. The Team Collusion driver, he said he was a little surprised, finished third at the Glen, currently sitting sixth in the AM Championship, and I believe he's qualified here fifth tonight in AM. So, Larry, we've got our drivers heading to the grid. Let's start to run down the starting order. Let's see here. Tell you what, I took the GTPs last time. Why don't you grab them this time out?
Sure, sounds good. On the pole tonight, right in front of everybody in this front row, is going to be awesome to watch. On the pole, though, is Bailey Petrowski from D2D Sim Racing, 31-2. That is quick. Alongside him is championship contender from DNA Motorsports, Ben Rose. That's going to be a good battle to watch all night long, but they better not look too far ahead, because behind them is going to be some chasers. Tanner Dibble on the inside, Ben's teammate from DNA Motorsports. Tanner's lined up with a very fast Bobby Childs from D2D. So all DNA and D2D on those front two rows. Row 3 on the inside, another DNA Motorsports, Ryan Reisman. He'll be lined up alongside WJM Motorsports, Fernando Takahashi. On row 4 on the inside, it's Bill Malfield, WJM Motorsports, lined up alongside Aaron Beaver from Aerokinetics. On row 5, I think, is where we turn it over. That's the GT3s.
There we go. All right, so our pole sitter in GT3 is going to be Mike Dan from Orion Racing. In the number 93 machine with Michael Brooks from The Wrong Stuff right next to him. Row number 2, Ken Copeland and Dre Divock starting 3rd and 4th. Let's take a look at row number 3, where we've got Chris Thorman from D2D Sim Racing and Travis Schwenke from Orion. Then on row number 4, we've got Michael Caffrey. Then with Jeff Brooks right beside him. Then Leo Dragota, who is starting tonight's race in a very surprising 4th in AM with David Payton right beside him. Alex Brown, who we just spoke to from Team Collusion, he is starting there in, I guess that is in 7th, and with Robert Hartley 8th, and David Steiner and Jeff Jacobs, Chris Peters and Russ Ruddick starting next on the field. And then let's move over to Jackson Detmer and Phil Caffrey with Bruno Belny and Greg Brockway, John Casey and Lucas Dragota, who I believe did not set a time in qualifying, nor did Dominique Angelicchio. And I don't have Dominic in the, he did not take the pace lap. We'll see if he starts from the pit lane here in just a few moments for the Wrong Stuff Racing. As we've got the pace car now, Larry, bringing the GTP field here along. And of course, I get confused by looking at those the braking markers pointing the wrong way. are we sure they're driving in the correct direction?
It's television coverage helping us out. And we appreciate Monza always thinking ahead to put the numbers on both sides of those boards. But yeah, we talked about turn one treachery. These guys will get the first shot. These are very long cars. These are difficult cars at low speed. That's going to test them in turn one. GT3 is a bigger field. We've got somewhere around we'll say 15 cars in GT3. Going to be tight going through there. Let's see if everybody can do it clean in the first try.
All right, so pace car is on the pit lane, turning the field over to Bailey Petrowski as our GTPs come out of the Parabolica. We're waiting for our real-life starter to give the command to race as they come down the front straight. And green flag is in the air, and we are racing. And there you go, right at the line. Ben Rose jumping out to an early lead over Petrowski. Tanner Dibble gets by as our pole sitter, starts to get swallowed up by the field. Petrowski now sitting in third, trying to hold off Riesemann and Takahashi. And Bobby Childs getting into a big conflagration there, along with Petrowski. He's involved as well. And we'll see and we do take a green flag for the GT3 racers here, Larry, as they're coming down the front straight with Mike Dam and Michael Brooks on that front row. They're not allowed to pass until they get to the start-finish line, but it doesn't look like that's going to matter. None of their drivers here get a huge advantage as they go into the chicane for the very first time.
So far, GT3 is a little bit more well-behaved than our GTPs were. Looks like 2x2, Noah's Ark style through there, and everyone appears to be clean to the first chicane. But I can tell you, GTPs were not, and that was our championship leader, Bailey Petrowski, that seemed to have taken the brunt of that one. And the DNA Motorsports team with Dibble and, of course, Ben Rose, the beneficiaries of that opening lap. Look at these guys already in the DNA Motorsports entries, pulling away from the rest of the field. Why don't we cue up a bit of a replay? I think we've got one lined up on what went on down into turn one in these GTPs. Look at the now third position Petrowski, and you'll see from right behind them is the 23 of Takahashi. Gets in the brakes late, gets into the back of Petrowski, and we'll let the stewards decide what they're going to do. But that may take Petrowski out of contention here unless he can get a quick repair.
All right, and as we go back live, and it was interesting there to see Ryan Riesemann coming down the inside in the 414 machine, Larry, and then Takahashi just came out of nowhere, straight down and center punched him. We'll see how the stewards take a look at that, but obviously, regardless, Petrowski having to take his car to the pit lane and currently under repairs. As we take a look now at Ryan Riesemann and Fernando Takahashi as they now make their way through the first chicane as we are completing our first lap for the GTP racers. Bill Mulfield about a second and a half behind this battle for third currently.
So what's gone here is Bobby Childs has lost a lot of position, maybe trying to avoid some of what went on in front of him in turn one, so he's going to have to work his way back up. He's currently in seventh. But what this has done is it puts DNA Motorsports 1, 2, and 3 with Rose, Dibble, and now Ryan Riesemann, your top three. That is huge for that team. And I saw as we had the camera on Ben Rose for a second there, you could see his lips moving. I can't read lips. What I believe, though, is he's probably on comms with Tanner as these two teammates. They're not going to play, right? They're not going to start, fighting with each other. I suspect they're just talking to each other about what their strategy now is with an hour and 28 minutes left in this thing. But right now, looking good for the front two, and Riesemann, their teammate, now in third.
All right, Larry, let's jump over to our battle for the lead in GT3, where it is Mike Dam, Michael Brooks, and Ken Copeland. And not all that far behind, you can see Travis Schwenke along with Dre Divac, who's our AM category leader. He's second in line there with Chris Thorman in the D2D Ferrari. Jeff Brooks, who's made up two positions, so good start there for the 85 Porsche, then Caffrey, then Leo Dragotta, still sitting fourth in AM.
Yeah, good start there, like you said, for Jeff Brooks. Michael Brooks also a good start holding for him with Mike Dam out in the front. Travis Schwenke, you mentioned, he picked up a couple spots that opening lap. That's good for him and as well for Mike Dam to potentially have a teammate to help him. As right now it's Orion, Wrong Stuff, and Team Esport there in third. But to have another Orion teammate may help Mike Dam as we get into this thing. But in the AM battles, Leo Dragotta's, he's got to start working his way up, certainly as our championship points contender. he and Divock and of course the others all looking to score some points here tonight. They're starting to still shuffle. We'll see if Brooks, currently the big mover, can pick up another couple of spots and challenge Divock for the lead in AM.
Yeah,
oh,
indeed. And going off there, that
Ricmotech.
is Ryan Ricmotech, exactly, in the coming out of, I guess that was coming out of Ascari.
That is coming out of probably Lesmo curve, the first one there at turn 6.
Oh, yep, you're right. Sorry about that.
Yeah, so that now moves down. One of our DNA Motorsports got a quick replay of that. You can see him coming out of the opening chicane, and again, it looks like is that Takahashi on his tail. Fernando on the inside.
Larry, here's something that's going to be very interesting coming across. Wow, so 2 cars involved there, but just got word from race control. Not only was Fernando Takahashi given a penalty, a drive-through penalty for the incident going into the chicane at on the lap 1, but Tanner Dibble in the 963 machine, you see him coming in as well. Actually, that's Aaron Beaver coming in, pardon me, in the 97. I thought I heard that Tanner Dibble may have been given a drive-through as well for jumping the start. We'll see if that is the case, but we can see here as Beaver comes in as well.
Yeah, I'm seeing 3 penalties being issued. One is for Dibble, I suspect, on a start procedure. Takahashi with the incident with Petrowski, and then Aaron Beaver, another one that may have been a start procedure. All 3 of those, it looks like 2 have been served. There you can see Takahashi and Beaver having come through. I think we're waiting on Dibble to serve his.
Yeah, and so that start procedure, Larry, is that that you are not allowed to make up a position before you pass the start-finish line. Here you can get the jump when that green flag comes out, but you cannot pass the car ahead of that start.
I'll tell you, it's tough here at Monza because you come off of Parabolica, which is where the GP3s are now, and you get a pretty decent run just about to this bridge where the actual start finish is. And if you start going early, it gets a little bit unnerving and really sometimes uncertain as to whether or not you can go, you can't go. If somebody hesitates and everybody else doesn't, it can create that bit of chaos because you know you get a long run down to 1 after that, so you're obviously anticipating it. And I can understand how 2 of those 3 cars could possibly have a jump start penalty. It's unfortunate, those are the rules, but I can certainly understand. I can feel the sympathy here.
Yeah, definitely. And there we go. There's Tanner Dibble taking his drive-through penalty, and so that I think changes the equation a little bit. You know, as you were reading Ben Rose's lips on the radio, as how he and Dibble were going to approach the race from here on out. But that now moves Bobby Childs, Larry, who said, as you mentioned, he dropped back as far as I think 7th position at the tail end of the field there, and he's now up at the 2nd.
Yep, and remember, Ricmotech that had his own incident there in contact with Takahashi that we had seen. I don't see any stewards review under looking at that yet, but that certainly dropped him from his 3rd place position right now down into now back into 3rd, of course, with the others serving their penalties. So he lost a lot of track position, but he's back up to that spot. We'll see if there's any other stewards review coming on that one, the 2nd of the Takahashi incidents.
All right, and so Larry, we might want to take a look here as I see Jackson Detmer, who did not have the best start tonight, showing him as being in the pits as well. Maybe Jonathan can give us a little more information via replay of what may have happened there. And let's take a look.
So Detmer's going to be that BMW at the front of this shot, with the Ferrari, the Porsche behind him, coming into that 2nd of the chicanes, loses that back end over the sausage curbs, touching into that tire barrier on driver's left, even though it's the right side of his car. And we'll see if he's got any damage. It was a soft impact. He may have gotten away with that hard,
but he's been in the pits, and it looks like he may have checked out of the session.
Yeah. I'll tell you, this little battle here, Thorman in the middle of it with the red windshield banner. Of course, he's out of the pro category. He's right now running in this train behind Divock, your AM leader. So it's Divock, Thorman, Jeff Brooks, Michael Caffrey, and then Leo Jagoda kind of in that little train there. Thorman's kind of the oddball in it, but hey, you race who you're up against. We're on board here with Caffrey in that AMG, and he's trying to stay to the back of Jeff Brooks in a Porsche. They come out of that corner just differently for sure. And,
as we saw, Caffrey got a very good run coming out.
Yeah,
couldn't really do anything with it, Larry. And as they were coming into that 2nd chicane, Caffrey had for a moment pulled right alongside Jeff Brooks, and again, nothing he could really do with it, as our leader, Ben Rose, now trying to make his way through, slice his way through traffic.
Yeah, and he's going to be slicing through. That is Rose coming through there. So that means the rest of that train, we'll see Child, Ryan Ricmotech, Tanner Dibble doing the same thing, and probably in the next lap. Boy, that just looked treacherous with all that GT3 traffic that he had to navigate. He's talking to somebody, though. You can see his lips are moving. And I just saw the back of the shot there coming out of the Ascari, another one of our GTPs. So they might be catching him on Parabolica, which I think might be the better place to catch him because a little more room, the speed delta plays out. Look at this. This is Copeland pushing the back of Michael Brooks to stay with Mike Dam. That's interesting.
Yeah, and they're able to pull right up alongside, or not alongside, but right up to the back of the Orion BMW, just as Ben Rose, again, our overall leader, knifes through going into the first chicane there.
I think Copeland may be thinking right now, stick with Brooks, push Brooks up into Mike Dam, but keep Schwenke out of the draft. Because Schwenke obviously wants to catch up and make it a 4-car train. And I think right now Copeland's trying to prevent that. Now here is Divox getting passed by Chris Thorman. As they came out of an opening chicane, Divox may be forced to slip in behind. And then he's got, of course, his wrong stuff teammate, Jeff Brooks, right behind him. But that's a change of position right there in terms of on track. Leaves the class lead the same, but now Thorman leads this train in his Ferrari.
Yeah, and so you've got the two teammates there from the wrong stuff, Larry, and I don't know how interested they're going to be in swapping positions or making any big changes here, as opposed to just trying to keep Michael Caffrey behind. And you know, you can see there now right behind that yellow Mercedes, about 4 car lengths back, the orange and white Porsche. That is Leo Dragota, the 118 machine, and of course Leo now.
Bobby. And that's Bobby Childs trying to snake his way through the Ascari chicane, and he's trying, but he's going to go around Caffrey now on the left. But you can see the time damage it does to a GTP car having to follow GT3s through that chicane. Look at that on board with Bobby as he now ducks to the inside of teammate Thorman, both D2D sim racing.
And then we got both Reisman and Dibble. Dibble having served his drive-through penalty, trying to knife through this group as well. And I was going to mention there, Larry, now as this entire GT3 AM group gets split up. You know, Leo Dragota currently sitting second in the points to Dre Divock with the 1 point separating them. Certainly, he's going to probably be the most aggressive here as we sit on the back, sit in the seat of his Porsche.
Love seeing this. The GT3s, which are fast, and just getting past, like they're standing still by a Fernando Takahashi going up the inside as they go around the Grand Curve, the Curva Grande. Good shot there, Leo Dragota. Chased by David Payton. Which Payton and Hartley then behind him. Those two pro. They would like to get on by. But we've seen Leo Dragota's always got good pace. It's why he's in championship contention. But he wants to challenge Dre Divock and Jeff Brooks out in front. But obviously he's got a very fast Michael Caffrey as well to get around to get there. As that 91 actually was Bill Mulfield, Takahashi's teammate, was getting on through. Obviously teammates, similar liveries there, the WJM Motorsports entries.
All right, a little further back here, Russ Ruddick, Chris Peters. This is the battle for 7th.
Yeah, we haven't talked much about Chris Peters in that Peters Motorsports entry, as he's now trying to make a move on Ruddick. They'll try to get on the outside. That's tough going in, but maybe he can pressure a bad exit and make the pass down into 1. Good racing.
Peters finished 10th 2 weeks ago at Watkins Glen. Good run for him as he started off, he started 7th, but that race was, as you always have at Watkins Glen, turned into a bit of a bash fest there. As we see now Ruddick getting very deep under braking here into the chicane.
Yeah, and you can see, I think the BMW might have, at least in this setup, a little bit higher trap speed. all of that potentially bad exit of Parabolica, or bad entry to Parabolica, didn't seem to hurt the BMW there at Ruddock, and Peters not able to get on by as we flash ahead to, again, there's the 64 of Peyton in this train. Hartley behind, Alex Brown right behind him, but in front of him, and those 4 AM cars, Dre Divock, Jeff Brooks, Michael Caffrey, Leo Jagoda. This is like an 8-car train all the way back to Jeff Jacobs. 9 cars, I think, actually. 9. Jacobs at the tail. Jacobs saying, hey guys, wait for me, as he's looking to the back of, I think it's David Steiner, another one of our Australians in the field. 3 Aussies in the field here this morning. I say this morning because they're 16 hours ahead of where I sit here in US East. So yeah, they're right about noon, I think. They're depending what side of Australia they may be in. Pretty cool.
They don't have anything better to do on a Tuesday afternoon, Larry.
I wouldn't. The best thing I could think of would be to race, and that's what's going on here as Bobby's getting pressure from Ricmotech. Ricmotech able to go to the inside of 1. Bobby's going to play the conservative route.
Yep, so that moves Ricmotech now up into 3rd, drop Bobby Childs back to 4th. We didn't, I don't think we saw it here, but Tanner Dibble, after serving his penalty, he's back up into 2nd position with his teammate ahead. But instead of being within a couple car lengths of his teammate, he's 20 seconds back.
Look at this onboard. I mean, talk about realistic. If you're really in a GTP car, look at that cockpit. That thing looks like it may as well be an F-16 fighter jet with the way this thing looks. You're just looking at this tiny little mini canopy type window. And then Bobby's, I'm sure, got the full-on, I don't know if he's got a motion rig like Belney's got, but he's got probably a pretty solid wheel pedal set up there. And he's probably looking at things that makes his simulation look just like that. But I tell you what, that's a pretty cool looking shot there on the interior. It shows you how tight this little narrow visual window out of these things and how big that A-pillar really is. The 83 of Michael Brooks a little slippery coming out of the Lesmo.
Yeah, I think Ken Copeland directly behind there started thinking he might want to dispatch with the Brooks car, and there you go. You can see now as Copeland pulls up to driver's left, and he's going to drive right on by Michael Brooks as they come down into the 2nd chicane.
Wow, you lose a little momentum around this place. One bad exit, it's going to cost you a position, because this whole track is, and I've run this track in Formula V's, I've run this track, I was in sim racing, and I've run this thing in Black Fords and a bunch of other stuff. Everything at this track is nail the exit of a chicane. If you do that, you can maintain. You miss one of those, as we just saw with Brooks coming out of the turn 7, 2nd of the Lesmos, or coming out of Ascari, or any of those, it's going to cost you positions, and that's what happened.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you're trying to get that car up to its terminal velocity, just losing a couple on exit is going to be enough, especially at the end of the chicane there. We can see a little bit further back that second pack still incredibly tightly bunched, but looks for the time being as though Caffrey has got a little bit of a margin there back to Leo Dragotta, although that closes up under braking.
There's the strengths of each car as well as each setup. Some cars are better under braking, some are better around these long sweepers like Parabolico or around the Lesmos. Others are, fast in a straight line like we may have seen with the BMW. So I love seeing that. And obviously in this series, once you pick a chassis for that season, that's what you're in. And you got to understand all the strengths over the course of the schedule. But I love watching how that plays out in a race like this.
Oh, indeed. And we've seen now where Dre Divock, who again leads the championship right now by 1 point over Leo Dragotta, has started to separate himself out, Larry, from Jeff Brooks. But it looks as though that gap may have fallen just in the last lap. It was at about 2 seconds, now back down to only about 0.8. As we see Divock, having his speed limited a bit by the Porsche of Thorman just ahead.
Yeah, just a little bit there, and so we'll see how Thorman's able to hold that out in front of him. But yeah, I do love watching this again. You're talking about the Ferrari strengths versus all these Porsche strengths just behind him, and then Caffrey, kind of one of the very, very few Mercedes in this field. And you can see how quick he is entering that Parabolica. But does he have the tall legs of the Ferrari? Does he have the tall legs like the BMW? I don't know that he does, but he's got good position right now on the inside of Brooks there.
That's right. So he's now side by side with Jeff Brooks as they come down on the braking into the first chicane. Brooks has got about a half a car length as they turn in. And there you go. Caffrey concedes on entry.
Oh, no.
But it pulls right up alongside, taps the rear, and both Brooks and Caffrey now come to a complete stop. That's going to move Leo Dragota up into second in AM. That's also going to let Peyton Hartley, Alex Brown by, as well as Jeff Jacobs.
That's huge for that
Huge.
standings in the class. That's huge for the race, obviously, because it takes that 8 or 9 car train to put all that up. And yeah, we're going to catch a replay on this and see exactly how this went down.
As we see here, Larry, as they come down into the first chicane, as Brooks moves ahead, and Caffrey appears to give a lot of room there. And
yeah, I tell you what, Caffrey's on that outside at that point as they exit that second chicane, and he's trying to stay to the curb. And I think on the inside, Brooks thought he was clear, maybe started moving out. And
exactly,
I think from a steward's position, they're going to be tough assigning blame to either one on that one. It's a tough contact. You hate to see that. They did a really good job of respectful racing through the first 2/3 of that chicane, and all it takes is just a bit of misjudgment of where that outside car is, and it happens. We'll see if the stewards agree. I'm not sure they'll be able to pin anyone with any penalties for that.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a tough one to call, Larry. And as you mentioned, Caffrey all the way on the curbing on drivers right. There really wasn't anywhere for him to go except into the chicane.
And they're looking at it.
Yeah. As we take a look now and jump to the lead here, or battle for the lead in Pro, and Ken Copeland, now who had dispatched Michael Brooks just a few laps ago, is tucked right underneath the wing of our leader, Mike Dam. Brooks has not given up this fight yet either, Larry, as he's only 2 car lengths in arrears. All 3 of our drivers now with about a 3-second advantage over Travis Schwenke sitting in 4th.
I think that's they're trying to pull away with the 2 guys chasing Dam are working really smart to not give something up and to bring Schwenke back into this. I think it's a smart move. If somebody has an advantage, like we saw, or it's a disadvantage, if you're like Brooks and have a bad exit, he's smart, move aside, let Copeland take the point, and then work together, even though they're not teammates, but try not to bring this into a 4-car fight, and so far, so good.
Exactly, not lose touch of Dam, not bring the 16 car behind for closer into this battle, as that 16 car doesn't have any help on its own.
Look, the nice clean line for Copeland in that Merc through that Scar chicane. Super tidy, super clean. He's been solid at this point. Took the opportunity to get the second position, but honestly, right now he may be the quickest car in this group and playing it very smart. Bobble there as I say that as he goes into braking and turn in, but it's a lot
I think a lot of that, Larry, is it looked like maybe he didn't anticipate Mike Dam braking as early as he did going into Parabolica there.
Yeah, what I've learned in the couple of years of doing sim racing is the fastest guys in the sim often brake the earliest.
Yeah.
The ones that break the latest are probably fast drivers that tend to push the braking points. The fast guys are really good at braking early, but getting the weight transfer done at the right time and actually maximizing the corner exit, even with what looks like an earlier braking point. It's amazing to watch, and obviously all of our drivers are at the top of their game. If you're in that top 3, you're really good. But we've seen Mike Dam consistently fast season after season. He's doing those things that we would expect. He's doing the lightly brake early because it loads the car properly, it loads the turn in, and he carries just a little more speed than everybody else. That's why he's leading the race.
That's exactly why he is leading the race, Larry, as we take a look now at Beaver and Maltfield here. This is the battle for 5th. Wow, you can just see the exit that Beaver was able to get out of that chicane compared to Maltfield.
So quick little update.
Standing still.
Yeah, quick update going back to the Jeff Brooks and Michael Caffrey incident. The stewards did make a ruling that the 85 of Brooks, who was the car on the inside of that coming together, is going to be given a 5-second post-race penalty for avoidable contact. So feeling from the stewards' view that he didn't leave enough room to the outside where Caffrey was. And so 5 seconds. 5 seconds at the end of a 90-minute race, probably not the biggest of penalties, but a penalty nonetheless that he's got to be aware of. And ensure that he's clear to not lose a position then.
All right, we'll have to see how that plays out for him. He's sitting 5th currently in this race, but Brooks coming into the evening 4th in the championship, lost 2 positions in the championship after the last round. He may lose a few more, as he had only a 5-point advantage on Jackson Detmer, but Detmer hasn't exactly had the easiest night tonight. He's and I think Detmer is likely retired after having only completed 2 laps, so that may not be an issue. But then Alex Brown, he's only another couple points back from there. So we'll see how this plays out there for Mr. Brooks.
Yeah, I want to go back also. We had the opening lap contact into the opening corner between the 115 of Bailey Petrowski, championship leader, and Fernando Takahashi. The stewards have looked at that, and we know that Takahashi served a penalty. What the stewards have clarified is the contact between those 2 cars was believed to be by severe net code, starting from car 88, which is Bobby Childs. So perhaps they're feeling that Childs in his net code may have actually initiated a side contact or even a bit of a push to Takahashi that then ultimately led to Takahashi getting into the back of Billy Petrowski.
Interesting.
So I'd not seen that ruling before. Very interesting. The stewards decided to say, and obviously Bobby, with being severe net code, doesn't have any control of that. No penalty to him. They are just making a note that they're going to watch the network connection for Bobby, who we've got a shot of here there in the 88 National Guard themed car there. So yeah, very interesting for that to cause a little bit issue there.
Especially now that Takahashi has served that penalty.
Yeah. And also, it may explain, knowing that this is going on, we saw Bobby go into turn 1 alongside Ryan Reisman. Bobby yielded pretty easily, and I think this may be a part of it. He's being conservative, knowing if his net code is a little bit severe tonight, and there you can see it. Yep. Yeah. He may be knowing that getting close to cars and chicanes is a bad idea, so watch him to be a little conservative side by side tonight. Smart driving by Bobby.
And I think it's starting to affect him as well, as we just saw a lot of brake lock up right in the middle of the chicane in a place where you wouldn't necessarily expect it. So we'll definitely keep an eye on that, as we're watching right now. I believe that's Mulfield, in the 91 machine.
Yep, the teammate to Takahashi, who's about 2-3 seconds back behind him out there on the track. And Takahashi, of course, has been involved with a couple of incidents. He has served a penalty, and I suspect, without too much clarification from the stewards, that penalty may have actually been for the other incident we saw with Reisman. Obviously, they're saying that the contact between he and Billy Petrowski was partly due to the net code. So there's some things going on there, but look how tight this is, trying to get by the GT3 cars.
Yeah, as Mulfield just came right underneath the D2D machine. I think that was David Payton in the '64 Ferrari with Hartley directly behind him. And why was it close?
Yeah, it's a tight corner. I told you when we started this thing. This place is fast. This place is, high speed into chicanes. The problem is the road itself is pretty narrow. So when you got multi-class racing going on, and you got to have passes that are going to happen, if you're not doing that pass in the front straight, it's pretty treacherous down there in the narrow roads between, certainly down at the Lesmos. It's very tight.
All right, this is back in the battle for the lead in Pro with Mike Dam and Copeland. And Copeland, again, somewhat content to stay where he is for the time being. Both drivers for the time being have been running and starting to gap Michael Brooks, but that last time by, Brooks was almost a quarter of a second faster than either Dam or Copeland, and just every time it looks like he's fallen back, he starts to compress things down. But now Copeland taking a look to the outside. Dam goes to cover as they come into the second chicane.
Yeah, so now, really Copeland trying to pressure a little bit, but trying to be smart to this and not cause any major incidents. Certainly doesn't want to cause any time loss and bring Brooks back into it, let alone Schwenke back there. So Copeland being very smart with his pressure, just trying to get under the skin, I think, of Dam. Remember, we're supposed to have two pit stops in this 90-minute race tonight. So what do we know about the timing and the expected pit time on those?
Well, and we'll see here, Larry, because I think for the GT3 cars, we expect them to be able to go a max of about 21 laps on a full tank of fuel, and we're sitting on I think working lap 16 right now for them. So still quite a bit of time. The GTP drivers can expect to get somewhere along the lines of 25 or so laps out of a full load. So they've got probably about another 7 laps or so before they would need to come in. You know, we might see some variation there because it looks as though, you know, even if they go the full distance on a stint here early on, you know, probably only 8 to 10 laps that these cars would be able to do or would need to do for their second stop.
Yeah, so a couple more minutes, we might start seeing some stops as we get past this first third milestone and get to those numbers you talked about with the mid 20 laps for each of these two classes. But look at that, it was very interesting again where Copeland not interested in playing leapfrog, not interested in stepping out. He sat behind Dam all the way down that front straight. I wonder if he's also using this as an opportunity to save some fuel. So very interesting strategy from these front three of how they're playing this out. If you're Mike Dam, you know, historically he's talked about trying to save fuel at different moments. I think being out in the point, he's not able to, which is a smart move for Copeland and Brooks. Yeah, make him use his fuel.
And Dam runs wide. And that's going to give Copeland a run into the lead.
That's one way to sit. Yeah, it's one way to move into a spot where you can save some fuel is, oops, sorry, I missed a corner, and now Copeland is forced to take the lead. Deliberate or not, it may work out well for Dam, but it's an interesting effect for sure.
Yeah, well, Mike Brooks there sitting in third had a quick look to the inside on the 93 machine, could not get by. He stays slotted in third, but yeah, for a moment there, coming through the first Lesmo, really looked as though Dam might have been in trouble there, dropping that right rear wheel, or left rear wheel, pardon me.
It was definitely a moment for a moment.
Yes.
So yeah, now new leader. Copeland now at the front. Don't know if he wanted to be there. Just got done saying he may have been happy sitting at second, but now he's got no choice. And if you're Mike Dam, I would be shocked to see Mike Dam make a move before we get to pit stops, because this is his best chance to save some fuel. We'll see if he follows through with that strategy.
And interestingly enough, tap from Dam into the back of Copeland, a tap from Brooks into the back of Dam as they all try to navigate the chicane there. And you know, Larry, I was as we've been watching Travis Schwenke sitting back in the last lap, even with that little bobble line like Dam, was able to pick up about 3/4 of a second. So we'll see here.
Yeah, definitely nothing's decided yet there. Schwenke trying to stay in that mix. Good job there of just maintaining pace, take opportunities when they come, and who knows, fuel stops, he might be able to get up there. And he might be smart. One of those, when you have to take 2 fuel stops, you often get the option for one of them to be shorter than the other and use it for track position. So we'll see if Schwenke does that. Perhaps takes a short fuel in the first one and the big fuel in the next one to try and get better track position. That'll be interesting here tonight. And the GTPs, we know, I think are going to have the same thing, again, expecting 2 stops. These guys are back together with Caffrey and Brooks after their coming together earlier.
And remember, Brooks taking a post-race time penalty, no drive-through here. As in the pit lane now, it's the 2 WJM drivers. It's Fernando Takahashi and Bill Mulfield, both taking on fuel.
I got to figure this is planned, that they talk, and this is their strategy. 21 laps in, let's take fuel. All right, well, there we go. Just past this first third. We'll see how they come out of this and start working together. It's very good to see teammates working together and coordinating the strategies. A shot there, Rob Hartley, the Orion driver furthest back tonight, sitting there behind David Payton, his rival there from D2D Sim Racing, currently 6th and 7th in the pro class. I'm trying to catch up to the back of that and battle for the lead there of Divock and Dragota. There's Dragota in that orangish, reddish, white striped Porsche. just
Yeah,
about a
and
second.
Dragoda just, even after he cleared the incident, he just has not been able to take a big dent out of Divock. Divock has been running consistently faster. And there you go. Thanks, John, for throwing that up there. And you can see where Dragoda has been losing time.
In chunks.
Big chunks there over the last number of laps.
So, and you can see that just in the last lap, Dragoda able to roll back in another 3/10. But yeah, after losing, clearly it's a good 2.5 seconds across the previous 4. So kind of going the wrong way, trending for Leo Dragoda. He's got to right that ship if he wants to win this race among the AM category. Meanwhile, behind him, we know, we just talked about, there's David Payton, Robert Hartley, and then Alex Brown all kind of lined up. So if you're Dragoda, do you want to push to catch the guy up front, or are you going to be worried more about those 3 chasing you down from behind? GTPs go flying by.
As Hartley pulls left to try and catch a whiff of a draft.
That may have been Ben Rose, actually, that's going on by.
I was going to say, right. the Burgundy,
yep.
I think that's Ben Rose, our leader.
It is. Yeah, there's our overall leader, finishing lap 22. Currently about 7 seconds ahead of Tanner Dillon. To me, he just looked like too relaxed. Like there's just nothing.
Well, it looks like, and I think part of it, Larry, is we're just the wheel is nice. It looks like the wheel's kind of in his lap. He's got his arms straight out.
And there's a reason there's never a camera on me when I'm racing, because I look like I'm having a seizure or something, because I'm trying to make faces and I'm contorting and doing those things.
I think that you probably end up looking like Beaker from the
Yes. Yeah, I'd be all over the place.
Yes.
It would not be pretty. But you just watch Ben, and it's just there's no wasted fractions of energy from him. It's wonderful to see how efficient he is and how calm he is, and not a bit of expression even. That's business. That is full on down to business for your race leader, Ben Rose, trying to win now. And I don't want to jinx him, but trying to win his 3rd race in a row. Trying not to pull on the commentator's curse, but facts are facts, folks.
No, because we haven't done that enough times this season.
Facts are facts. He's won 2 in a row. He's going for 3. That's just a fact. I'm trying not to jinx him.
That's right. All right. And who is that? That's Greg Brockway in the 62 machine.
Yeah.
Moving over to let our leader through. as Director John has just thrown up a picture of Beaker for me to stare at the entire rest of the evening. All right, Mike Dam, Michael Brooks, Travis Schwenke, as well as Chris Thorman, a lot of our GT4 drivers coming in for their first pit stop. The one exception, Ken Copeland, continues to circulate. And it looks like with 19 laps complete, a number of our drivers have decided now is the time. In Dre Divock has come in, as has Leonardo Dragoda. We also have Alex Brown and Jeff Brooks coming in for their first pit stop as well, Larry. It looks like of the 3 Orion racers, Robert Hartley, who, as we know, was sitting a little bit further back in the field, he was the one driver to not take a pit stop, so it is now Ken Copeland and Hartley, your 2 leaders.
All right, so round 1 done for a bunch of these. Let's see how that plays out. Now, of course, it shuffles where everybody is, track positions, so they've all got to figure that out. As we can see, it should be Aaron Beaver in the Aerokinetics right there behind Dam. Let's look at the traffic in that pit lane.
Yes. All right, let's see now here as Dam and Schwenke beat out Michael Brooks. So the 16 of Schwenke, Larry, does leapfrog Michael Brooks now in the 83 machine, at least in the pits. We'll see if that can hold on track.
And looking at the pit times there for Schwenke and Dam, very similar, but for
Brooks almost 10 seconds more than the 2 ahead. And David Steiner now, who moves to the lead in AM,